Welcome to how to get on the Eurotunnel, and we're starting off with, if you need to book a stay near the Eurotunnel, then I highly recommend this little hotel, Premier in Ashford North. It's absolutely ideal. It's only about 20 minutes away. I'll put a screenshot of the map on the screen as well, but honestly it's absolutely perfect if you want to go like a short stay there one night and then an early morning trip like we did here. So we have got a nice little video here of you basically showing how you get onto the Eurotunnel, all the stages you go through, and I'm going to talk you through it. Starting off as you pull in here, and you can see all across the top there's all the freight on the left hand side, and on the right is passenger traffic. So you start off just following these lanes. There's 2 lanes for passenger cars, and this is literally straight off the motorway. So if you follow the directions, you can see on my map is still taking me forwards here. You just put in the Folkestone Channel Tunnel terminal and it will take you straight here. And then coming up, you've got some more arrows. Again, everything is so simple. It guides you where you want to go. So this one, you want to skip round to the right if you're in a passenger car. Again, oh, there you go, camera's moved up, perfect. Again, because that on the left is for freight traffic, so trucks, etc, etc. Passenger cars, you just cruise on around past those big arrows and follow this way. And there's signs to say like to France, etc on the right-hand side there. But yeah, you just keep on going, and there's more arrows again showing you where to go. Freight on the left again, passenger traffic on the right, warns you you're going to be stopping in 300 meters. And you just keep on going. Honestly, all the other cars generally know what they're doing as well, so that is nice and straightforward too. And then you come up to the first stop, so you can see that coming up. And this is a clip from another trip that I've taken where it shows you what the screen says. So you check in, it's all done automatically pretty much. It registers your number plate and then kind of checks all the details you've put in beforehand are still true. So it asks how many passengers you've got, if you've got any pets, what type of car your car is, but obviously all of that you've put in already, so it just basically says, is this still true? Nothing really to worry about. It then gives you an option of if you want an earlier train or not, so if you've turned up a bit early and there's space on an earlier train, normally if it's within an hour, it will give you it for free. If it's a bit more than that, it can charge you a little bit. I think the most we've ever paid was £40 or £50 because we were like 3 or 4 hours early, so that was fair enough. But yeah, it gives you all those details as you go through it, and you can obviously select which one you want. If you want to stay on the same train, you just click that you want the same train and it'll do it for free because you've already obviously paid for it. And then it gives you a little ticket. So in a second at the bottom there on the left hand side, I think it is, it spits out your little ticket. And that little ticket is what you hang up, just like you can see me here doing on a different trip, hanging up on these, not the windowsill, the wing mirror, not the wing mirror, the rear view mirror. There you go, Tom, get yourself talking. You hang it on the rear view mirror with the letter facing forwards, and that just tells the people where you're going. And you can see on the left hand side there, there's a big screen that we've parked up in front of at the terminal building, and that tells you what you are doing. So it tells you when you're waiting, call in 7 minutes, call in 3 minutes, call in 15 minutes. And then when you obviously is boarding, that flashes up in orange on there and it tells you when to go. So we then went for a little wander into the terminal. Now, as you can see here, the weather was not great this day, but it was nice and bright enough that I can actually show you. Normally we're here dead early in the morning, in the middle of the night effectively. But yeah, this is the passenger terminal, and I'm going to be honest guys, there's not a lot in here, and it doesn't open much before 6 AM, I don't think it is. So if you are waiting to try and go in early doors, don't get too excited for what is in there. But once you're into the passenger terminal, you can see we're walking in here. There is some vending machines over there. There's a duty free. There's, I think it's a Burger King on the right hand side. Yeah, it is. It's a Burger King. There's not a Costa. There's a Starbucks. There's a couple of little like Double H Smithy type of shops. There's a big like AA stand if you've forgotten any bits for your car, like the UK stickers or breathalyzers or whatever else you need. Vests, kits for France. Whatever it is you might want, the AA stand pretty much has everything, so don't panic too much if you forget something on your way. Also, don't know about the prices of it. I'm guessing it's going to be a little bit expensive, but it is there for emergencies if you need it. And the shops are pretty well stocked, so that we pop into Doric Smith first here, and I'll show you around as we walk through it. But there is a fair bit of stuff. It's your standard type of Doric Smith that you'd expect in a service station. It's a pretty big one. There's all the chocolates, all the sweets, adapters, travel plugs, headphones, wires, whatever you might need, charging ports, drinks, sandwiches, pies. There's literally just about everything you could possibly want here. And obviously on the tunnel there is no facilities in terms of like food and drink. There is obviously a toilet or a few toilets along it. But if you are wanting food on the crossing, it's only 35 minutes, so you'll be in France in no time, but this is probably the place to come and kind of stock up if you need a little bit as you get into France. So you then pick up all your stuff and you head back to your car, because at this point you sit and wait for the boarding signs to show. You could see them there, the big orange signs on that screen. That was telling us, I think we're letter F this time, and that was saying F, boarding has started. So you then set off, and there is a little bit of a queue here often. You can see here cars are going for it because we were a few minutes late back, so we haven't got to the front of the queue. but it doesn't matter because you're just going to go queue somewhere else. And that next queue starts here with passport and security controls. So obviously I've not really filmed much of this, but you know how it works. Check your passport, have them open ready, it speeds everything up. And then you move on through, and again the lanes are so easy to follow. On the left here you've got the like Flexi Plus lounge. I don't know why people pay for it, it's like twice the price and it looks rubbish to be honest. But you cruise on down these lanes and then in a second you'll see a person kind of stood waving at you, telling you where to go. And there's a whole load of lanes with more arrows on, and again it's just nice and easy, follow the arrow. Here's the person, so this person will look at the letter in your car and basically tell you which lane to go in. Normally there's only one or two there. I think Rachel hid the camera, so obviously we're not filming the person just doing their job. But you can see up there, there's all the numbers, there's all the green arrows, and they will basically point to the one you need to go to. So pretty much follow the cars in front. Now you can see here, I think on this one we were headed down number 1 at first, and they realised they'd sent too many cars, so they eventually sent us down number 2. So we just kind of cruise round to the front of the queue, and then when they board the train they'll send number 1 first. So here we are sat in lane number 2, cars in front of us waiting, cars to the left of us waiting, lane number 3's filled up as well, and this way you just wait. And again the big screens up in the top left up there kind of tell you how long it's going to be before you're hopefully going to go on board. But again, you're just waiting here. On the left, you can see there's a couple of vending machines, but there's not a lot here. There is a toilet if you're desperate, but again, it's not really a nice one. So I suggest getting everything done in the terminal if you can. You just sit and wait until it's time to go. And just like that, the cars are moving and it's our time to go. That person on the left there was obviously gone for a wee or a wander and didn't quite get back to the car in time, so they've sent our lane in just to get everything moving. And I will talk you through how we get on the train. And again, it is so straightforward. You just follow these roads up. You can see the green light there. There's always people around pointing you if you don't know where to go. And you just follow the car in front of you. If you're at the front, then yeah, follow the arrows and you'll find the right way. You can see all the green arrows at the top telling you where to go. It's pretty hard to get wrong, and there is people and cars waving at you telling you where to go. So round this corner, and then again more arrows telling you exactly what to do. Once you get to these arrows, then guess what? You're going to keep going and there's going to be more arrows telling you where to go. So this one is taking us over the bridge to where the platforms are for the big trains. And obviously we're then going to drive our car onto the train, which is the exciting bit. So here you go, you can see a couple less arrows now guiding you to the right place. 2 green arrows this time, staying on the right hand side here. And the numbers on the right, they don't tell you where you're going, which one of these to go to, but there'll just be a car or someone kind of at the one where you need to pull down. If you're the first car in line, obviously there will be someone there kind of guiding you that way. And all the other cars just follow in a nice single file line. So here you go, we're going down onto platform number 5 by the looks of it. And again, this bit often turns into a little bit of a queue because people are very slowly edging themselves onto the train, making sure they're not scraping anything. And so you do normally kind of queue down this little ramp onto the platform. But here you can see trains on the left, trains on the right. Our train is on the left there. There's 2 entrances because this is a double-decker train, so they either tell you to go up to the top or down to the bottom, or sometimes there's only 1 entrance, and that means you're in a like big multi-level train kind of for coaches. Again, I don't really know how they decide which one's which. You just get put on one. Obviously, if you've got a roof box and stuff, you'll probably be on the tall trains. If you haven't, like we don't, sometimes it's a tall train, sometimes it's a double-decker. My guess is this one is going to be a double-decker because there is another entrance just on the left there where they normally send you up the ramp. So as we cruise into this low entrance here, I think we will be on the bottom level. Now, this entrance does look tight, guys, but I promise you it's not as bad as it looks. Once you've done it the first time, it's absolutely fine. Yeah, look, bottom level, there you go, not up the ramp today. But yeah, honestly, it's so easy. It's much easier than parallel parking in a multi-storey car park. So you just cruise yourself in there and then just follow the car in front down to the end. Now, depending on how early it is, depends on how far you have to go. All these doors that you see we're passing, here's a set here, kind of doors on the left and right, they'll shut before the train sets off. So they close the doors and like a barrier goes down between you. They shuffle you right up to the car in front of you, so they tell you exactly where to park and kind of beckon you forward, say keep going until they say stop. Just do what they say and you'll be absolutely fine. And then when you park the car up, they tell you, put the car in park, leave a couple windows down. I don't know why that is. Is it for the pressure of the something? If something might change? I don't really know. Comment down below if you know why they do that. But yeah, they obviously have a little emergency sound that they play for you, just so say if something goes wrong, you'll hear this sound, and then you're good to go. So you can see here, I'm kind of edging up to the car in front of me, and there's people that are kind of telling the car in front to move forward. And then they'll come to us and tell us to move forward. So they basically fit as many cars on as possible. And then once you're on, you are good to go on the train, and it'll be 35 minutes to France. So we got a nice little window seat here where we've got an emergency door on the side of us, and so you get a lovely little view out the window. Now clearly it is just black, and this is where you just chill. So Noah normally comes and sits with us in the front, and we just chill out. One of us might have a nap if we are particularly tired that morning, but we have some fun, and half an hour later you're in France, and literally the time goes so quick. You can get out your car and go for a wander, so we normally walk up and down the carriage a couple of times. In this case, I think we're going to go find one of the toilets. Now, normally on these double-decker ones, they're stationed about where the stairs are, so it's every 3 or 4 carriages up and down the train. If you're on one of the kind of big single-decker ones where there's a space for a coach to fit on, then the toilets are normally right at the front or right at the back, which can be a little bit annoying if you're right in the middle because it is a bit of a walk, and these doors are really heavy. I always just make sure that I keep the back door open before we open up the front door, just in case the worst were to happen. But yeah, you cruise along, and then all of a sudden you are in France, and the lights come on again outside, as in like you come out the tunnel and you're outside, and you cruise for about another 3 or 4 more minutes until you park up. And this is the time to be getting back in the car, getting your seatbelts on, getting ready to go, because it's time to drive in France on the right. And then you see the doors open up again and the car lights start coming on, and you're not meant to start your engine before the car in front starts moving, but some people do, I'm going to be honest here. But yeah, when the car in front starts moving, you get your car on and you start rolling forwards too. And then just like that, you get to the front of the train and you are outside. So you can see here, Noah there helping me drive the car off the tunnel. I'm there doing my little bit, driving at the front. Here's the stairs on the right hand side. That's where the toilets are, if you didn't see that before. Yeah, there's a toilet on the front of the stairs. Basically, you can go up the stairs. Obviously, you know someone else on the train and they're on the top deck. Go say hi. But yeah, you just kind of go up and down there or to the toilet if you need it. But yeah, go to the front of the train and then you just slide off the way you got on effectively. There's another door at the side. You just cruise to that side, out the gap. And again, the gap looks a lot smaller than it is. It is not bad. We have got a bit of a bus of a car and it fits in pretty easily. It's a 7-seater, so if you've got a regular 5-seater car, you'll be absolutely fine. You can see me there while I'm driving straight down here, just quickly checking the clock and the distances, changing it to kilometres, for example, and moving an hour forward. Just so you don't get caught out with the French speed limits. Obviously, it's much easier if you just put it in kilometres per hour. And moving the time forward, 8:48 instead of 7:48 when we got off this one, so it must have been an early start for us that morning again. But this was a summer trip, so the sun was out still and it was much nicer. Now you can get a feel here just how long this train is. You do fit a lot of cars on, especially considering it's a double-decker train, and that's why they squeeze everyone forwards and get you as close as possible to the car in front. But you can see the light at the end of the tunnel. It's coming. We're going to cruise out on the left-hand side, and then you're in France, and then it's just straightforward, and you just follow the signs again. Remembering, of course, as you get to the French roads, that you have to drive on the right-hand side. Sounds silly, but it's easy to forget. So here we go. We are on the platform. There's the rest of the train on the right-hand side, and we are cruising up the ramp, back off the platform, and you are driving in France. So nice arrows on the road to show you where to go. When you get to the top, you turn right and follow the road. You can see the map on my sat nav there is already detecting where I am. So if you have it set, we just use Google Maps. If you have it set as you get off the train, it tells you exactly where to go straight away. Cruising around here, straight off the train, off the platform, follow the blue arrows. You can see the signs saying no trucks, that type of thing. I think this bit is just for cars. Because obviously the trucks go on the freight trains, not the passenger ones. And just like that, you are pretty much on a French motorway now. This is still one way, so you can use any lane, but I tend to always try and stick to the right as soon as possible. There is signs, big black capital letters saying stick to the right or keep to the right, whatever it is. But yeah, this bit is a 2-lane, and there you go. That is a distance. When we always do this, we're going to Disneyland Paris, so it's about another 3 and a bit hours from here to get to Disney for us. But yeah, we are good to go here, and here is your first French motorway sign. So it's telling you where you're going, what road you're on, what you're looking for, and you are good to go. This does literally spit you out onto French motorway pretty quickly, so do just be ready for that as you get off. Have your maps at the ready, because it is a bit of a shock when you first do it if you're not quite ready and you think there's going to be like a nice little car park or something. It does literally just spit you out onto some quick French roads, so just make sure you are aware for that. There's some signs for City, is it City de Europe or City Europe? Great big shopping centre, but we've not been to it yet. But yeah, unless you're going to that, you don't want to go to the right, you just want to keep on going. Little sign warning there, and then you are kind of out of Calais and into France. Little speed limit symbol on the right there says welcome to France, and you are good to go. I'm pretty sure it's about less than a kilometre down here, and then you kind of merge right onto the I think it's the A26 if I'm right, though I might well be wrong. I can't quite remember, but yeah, you basically merge right. There's all the French cars already on the road, and you are just good to go. On the left there is a little petrol station. If you do get there and for some reason you're desperately short of petrol, you can get yourself filled up. For when I've checked before, it is pretty expensive, so I wouldn't recommend it. I'd recommend getting it done somewhere in like Folkestone. But yeah, it is there. And there you go, A26. So we are merging to the right because we are heading towards Paris. There's also going towards Lille and Brussels, and basically anywhere you want to go down through France, you're merging to the right. A couple of places on the left, like Boulogne, you can go down the coast. But yeah, we are merging to the right here. You can see it splits down the middle. I'm obviously sticking to the right now, just because we are now about to get onto a French motorway. I need to make sure I'm on the right hand side. It does come natural to you. I think we've done it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times now, 4 or 5 times, and it is pretty much natural now when you get there. But the first couple times it does take a little bit of extra brain power just to get yourself going. But here you go. This is the merge point where you get onto the first French road. There is cars coming from the left hand side, so make sure you're using your wing mirrors to see. There's a van, for example, that has just come down the motorway, and you are getting started. So we're going to leave this video there, but that is how you travel on the Eurotunnel to France. Hopefully you've enjoyed it. If you go to Disneyland Paris, then say hi to us. Don't forget there is tolls on the motorways. We can do another video about the tolls if you want to see what the tolls are like, and we will see you in the next video.